Fintech will further boost the overall economic performance of Mauritius. This is what the CEO of the Mauritian African Fintech Hub believes. Mauritius has got the expertise and the necessary environment to foster fintech across the continent. Michael Szymanski also talks about the African Fintech Festival, which will be held in Mauritius next year. The NPCC continues training to improve productivity in enterprises and enjoys Indian expertise in the field. In this edition, we see how SMEs are benefiting from the training. The right balance between ecology and technology. Shanghai is to build the first 5G ecological island in the world.
The increasing use of technology in the financial services sector is changing the way people do business, and Mauritius wants to take a lead role in this sector. The country is hosting the Africa Fintech Festival next year, and it is attracting thousands of professionals from this sector from across the continent. But what is fintech bringing to the economic development of the country? We talk to the CEO of the Mauritius Africa Fintech Hub, Michael Szymanski. Michael Szymanski, you're the CEO of the Mauritius Africa Fintech Hub. And very soon, Mauritius is going to host the Africa Fintech Festival. So tell us about it. What is this festival all about?
So the festival, firstly, it's a great honor for Mauritius to be able to host it. The festival is a celebration of fintech and financial technologies across the Pan-African continent. The number of jurisdictions at the moment that participate, or countries that participate in this, sits at 29, but the ultimate goal is to have all 54 countries across the continent participate into this. And the fact that we want to celebrate the fintechs on the ground, we want to celebrate the type of regulations we have, we want to celebrate the fact that there's a lot of money available for fintech startups. So for us, it's all about how do we put something together where there's value for the individuals who arrive at this. This isn't about a once-off showcase piece. This is about showing to the rest of the world what firstly the continent has to offer from a fintech perspective, but then on a secondary kind of tier is what does Mauritius have to offer. And for us to be able to host that here and beat out two other much larger jurisdictions and countries and being awarded this honor kind of speaks volume to where we've come to and where we want to go to in the future to position ourselves as that fintech hub for the African continent.
From what you're saying, it's going to be very important for Mauritius, but how did Mauritius get that? Was there some proposal, some meeting? How did it all happen?
So the Mauritius Africa Fintech Hub is a young organization. We've been around for very shortly, but the fact that we were asked to kind of participate not only in the African Fintech Network, but also to host this was a massive honor in itself. And yes, so the process was very transparent. The various jurisdictions were asked to put together proposals, submit proposals around ideas. And the fact that we were not only firstly shortlisted to top 3, we were the only one in the SADC region to be kind of shortlisted, which was amazing, especially having neighbors such as South Africa and other jurisdictions. But also we are up against some nations who also wanted to have hosted, and they are much, much larger than us. So from that perspective, we went through the bid process. We had to submit proposals. We had to do presentations of what we want to present to the table and what we want to showcase to the rest of the world, from not only Mauritian, but from an African continent perspective.
So we see that fintech, it involves financial services, technology, legal services, a whole lot of discipline involved in that. And how is it working in Mauritius? What's the state of this sector in Mauritius?
So I agree with you, but having said that, even coming back from Cape Town, we heard about Mauritius, the fintech hub, if you will, but it's just really come a long way in the last 13 to 14 months. I think we've moved away from a place of talking a good game to actually doing and delivering things on the ground. And I think that's been a real showcase to the rest of the world. And one of the reasons we got the festival was because we do things. We're very action orientated. So the state of Mauritius, fintech in Mauritius is building. I think there's a lot of momentum happening on the ground. And that's not through people just talking. It's people working together, collaborating and adding value and doing projects. And even though we might win some, lose some, the learnings from that are amazing, and that's where we are. So we've come a long way. I think we still have a long way to go, but I think we've taken the steps in the right direction.
So fintech is quite new in Mauritius. And tell us how has it evolved and where is it currently stand?
So I'll start off by firstly saying I think we've already got a lot of good things happening in Mauritius. You know, I like to use the example of one of the local entrepreneurs. He's one of the top 10 blockchain developers in Africa, and he's been recognized by France, for example, who they flew him out to do a talk around that. So we've already got a lot of good skills on the ground. But for us, being a hub means, you know, bringing the best of the best from the rest of the world, because if you bring people from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different genders, and you put them all into one environment, they'll learn from each other, and working together, they'll get more value out of it. So the answer is then twofold. Yes, we already have some good people on the ground. Whether we have enough, I don't think even the UK or Singapore has enough, if you will, but let's get all of them to working together and build those kind of professionals going forward.
So how far do you think fintech is going to contribute to the economic development of Mauritius? We're saying that Mauritius is going to be one of the countries in the high income economies very soon. And how far do you think fintech is going to contribute to make it happen?
100%. So our mission statement, if you look at the UK, for example, which is a very advanced kind of economy or fintech in the fintech space, they employ 60,000 people, right? So it's a massive job creator as an industry in itself. And because the way the financial services are moving towards across the globe, things are starting to move and shake. No longer, you know, are the banks kind of the dominant force in the economy, if you will. You know, they've got to listen to what the consumers want on the ground, and through those type of innovations, we're going to actually see new jobs happening that might not exist in 2 years' time, right? So I think it is a great driving force, and the beauty of technology is that it's scalable. You know, if you look at Singapore, for example, 5.6 million people, and yet China is their next door neighbor, and yet they are punching way above the weight, because that's what the power of technology has. You know, as a coder, you could be working in your pajamas in your house, and yet working for one of the biggest tech firms in the world that's based, for example, in the States, right? So in the financial technology space, same principles apply. Come to Mauritius, live in God's gift to mankind from a paradise perspective, but then work with companies across the globe, and then service people in Ethiopia, in Nigeria, but come here, develop the solutions, and let's create some jobs around the space.
We're talking about fintech, technology in financial services, and now when you talk about technology, sure, it changes people's lives, but it's also scary, like it's going to go into your privacy, it's not going to be the same as it is today. Do you think that there should be a legal framework, or are we going to talk all about that in this festival?
100%. I think inherently as human beings, we have a fear of the unknown. All right. So, you know, this isn't the first kind of evolution or revolution in the technology space throughout our history and throughout our species. You know, if you look at the advancement of, for example, the combine harvester, people thought, oh, they're going to take away jobs, we're going to lose jobs, people, but who actually wants to be in the fields to cut the sugar, the cane or the wheat or the whatever, right? And it's actually led to higher income jobs, because now you're retraining people to be either the drivers or the individuals who fix the combine harvester. And the same kind of principle applies here. Is yes, we're scared of the unknown. You know, there's a lot of fear at the moment that machines are going to take our jobs, and it's a genuine fear, right? But, you know, if you look at the ATM, I used an example earlier today as an ATM. Who actually wants to be a bank teller anymore, right? As a human being, you want to sit there and take things from people, whereas a machine can do it, because that's an example of fintech and ATM, whereas that individual now can be retrained to actually have a higher purpose job, or a job that adds more value to human beings as opposed to doing the mundane. So yes, there's a fear element associated around technology, a lot of words like AI being thrown into the mix, and, you know, all of this, but I think, you know, AI at the moment is a great PR stunt, but I think where we are at today's stage is automation, you know, and just doing the repetitive, mundane tasks so that the humans can be retrained into adding human being kind of traits to any jobs that are available.
Now, when we talk about business, when entrepreneurs come in any country that they want to do business, they see the business facilities, yes, but they also see the natural environment. Do you think Mauritius has an advantage over that?
Fundamentally, I do. I was in an African country, privileged enough to be in an African country last week. Some of the potholes there, for example, you could lose a battle tank inside of those. We don't have kind of those constraints, right? So from an infrastructure perspective, I think we have some world-class facilities. The fact that we are connected via fiber, by the underwater cables to the rest of the globe is phenomenal. We have a stable political environment. We have a stable currency. We have a beautiful natural environment where it's conducive to technology, right? Because the coders these days, the youngsters, they want to work for 5 hours and hit the beach for 4 hours, right? So we've got a lot of all the good and right ingredients in place to be able to achieve our goals and really position this country as that leader in the field and that forward leader, you know, and how do we become that leader going forward? That's kind of the goal and aspirations, and we're hoping that the festival will be one of those triggers or levers that unlocks that.
Argo Shmansky, thank you very much.
Thank you much.
为配合示范区建设，今年年底，崇明将实现5G信号的基础
The
全覆盖。
Chongming Island of East China's Shanghai municipality is striving to build the world's first 5G ecological inhabited island led by ecology and intelligent industry in order to welcome more 5G innovation application test bases in the future. The island launched its 5G application development plan on Friday, and it will be covered by the new network by the end of 2019. Chongming is striving to become a world-class ecological island by 2035. The local government will promote the 5G technology in transportation and technology. This agency is getting its biggest financial boost in 25 years. The ESA is to invest 14.4 billion euros in space exploration, including a moon mission up to 2022. Germany is now the largest contributor to the agency's biggest ever budget. ESA is closely watching the US space agency NASA's Artemis mission, which aims to send astronauts to the moon by 2024. European states are so far merely providing a module for the Orion spacecraft, but ESA chief assured member states that we will send Europeans to the moon. The NPCC has come up with a training program called SCORES, which has been developed by the International Labour Law for the development of employment relations in companies. A first of its kind in Mauritius, and 5 beneficiaries have been chosen to receive this training. And we have Mr. K. Ganesh, who has come all the way from India to dispense the training. Let's meet him. Mr. K. Ganesh, thank you very much for your time for this interview on Business Connect. You're an expert on the international labour law, and you've come all the way from India to Mauritius, an initiative of the NPCC to guide 5 local companies to increase their efficiency through their workforce. So can you tell us a bit more about what is it exactly that you do?
Okay. I'm here in my capacity as an expert in implementing SCORE. SCORE in short is Sustaining Competitive and Responsible Enterprises, a signature program of the International Labour Organization that has been deployed in a number of countries. Over 20 countries have adopted this, and in the process we have supported some 2,000 enterprises, primarily in the small and medium category, and in the process have impacted the lives of some 400,000 workers. What this program does is to mainly focus on what kind of newer efficiencies we have to bring to the table in these organizations, which otherwise do not have access to quality help, expertise, which the larger enterprises are entitled for. And they struggle with competition, the market pressures, slowing down of the economy, and when their customers suffer, the worst hit are the small enterprises which supply products and services to them. Small medium enterprises across the world face the same kind of problem. The kind of problem they face in China is exactly the same as you see them in Mauritius, and this program addresses what are the challenges they face and ensures that they become more competitive in the process. The word responsible is also there. The main purpose of that word is that they don't grow inorganically. They grow in line with the sustainable model. They focus on the environment. They don't throw effluents into the environment. So it's about building competitiveness with a high degree of social consciousness as well. So this program has been very successful, and I think the overall satisfaction rate is about 91%. CEOs across the world have said this program has brought about a key change in our way we work. And also, we have recorded 50% productivity improvement across the. There are some areas where the enterprises didn't pay much of an attention to the guidelines we provided, so they probably pulled out of the program. But overall, the success rate has been exceedingly good.
This program is definitely a first of its kind in Mauritius. Being limited in resources, what are the main challenges for the country?
Mauritius has, as I said, from the SME perspective, they face the same challenges as we do. But I think in terms of their size, a small enterprise in Mauritius is smaller than many small enterprises in the rest of the world. For example, in India and in Thailand, we are looking at companies of the size of 70 to 150 people. We call them small enterprises. Here, the maximum size is about 70, 50, like that. In fact, the pilot companies we have chosen, many of them are 20 strong or 30 strong, except for one garment industry, which is about 200. So that's one difference we see here. And also, whatever you produce, there isn't a huge domestic demand because you're a small island, small population. So they are very much dependent on this smaller market to market what they want to do. And I believe when we went around and spoke to most of these CEOs, they are feeling the pressure of imports coming with less restrictions, and they're competing with major players from across the world. So they feel extremely stressed to how to make both ends meet in a situation like this. Plus, I think when the industries get into an economic slowdown situation, they do suffer. So this is the fundamental difference, and we have to work on a very small scale to make them more productive and efficient. So I think the SCORE program is designed to be very flexible to all these kinds of situations and bring about a lasting, sustainable improvement in these organizations. This being a pilot, we have just started on the process of training them, and as I said, the process have gone through halfway. We are in the preliminary stages of identifying areas of improvement. And the way it's happening is in the classroom, when we explain a particular concept and the way of doing things, the enterprises are already coming up with, yes, this is very important for us. We have to do this. So I think something like 30 to 40 improvement opportunities have been identified for every enterprise that's sitting in the class. So I think this pilot would tell us how this is going to pan out in Mauritius in the months to come. And I think by the beginning of March next year, we will have some good case studies to tell you.
Once the training that is underway, once it's completed with on the pilot project, what happens there? Is there a follow-up? Are there targets to meet?
At this point of time in Mauritius, what we are implementing is a program that we call SCORE Accelerator. It's a condensed program as compared to the elaborate program, full-scale program we did in other countries, which consists of 5 modules. So module 1 focuses on workplace cooperation, then we have quality improvements, then we have lean manufacturing, clean production we call it, then we have workforce management principles, because many of these enterprises don't have a formal HR mechanism. So we teach them the basics of how to write a job description, how to assess the skill of the person, like that. And the last module is an extremely important module on occupational health and safety. In Mauritius, we are implementing a condensed version, which is a predominantly workplace cooperation, but the essentials of all the other modules. So to answer your question, what's going to happen is, in these 3 months, we would have sort of opened their eyes to the possibilities. And this being a program launched by ILO under the Decent Work initiative, they are entirely funding this process. Okay, so they're helping NPCC to run it in an effective manner. What happens after 3 months will be entirely dependent on the kind of confidence the CEOs have got. And they could come back to NPCC to say, look, let's go deeper into one of these 5 aspects. When they do that, we'll have to find some way to manage the cost of that program and do that. But we will leave behind here a cadre of certified trainers in NPCC who would be in a position to meet the emerging demands after the 3 months. And that's how it's going to work.
Right. Anything else you would like to add?
Yes, we'll wait and see the success stories as they emerge, and I have no doubt in my mind that it'll be a very positive experience we get out of this experiment. But more important than all of that is, I think more and more industries should come forward, and we will have the 5 industries to go and speak on behalf of what we are going to do. Mauritius is a country that I think is eager and anxious to develop as fast as the other countries. And aspects such as sustainable development, environment conscious development, I think is valued more here. I still a lot of greenery since the last two weeks I've been moving around. I think it's extremely important to maintain that balance in what you're doing. You have a need for a program like this as much as in many other advanced countries that we are talking about. So we expect more and more people to come forward, and what is happening here is the very same tools and techniques with which multinational companies, global companies benefited are the same tools we are bringing to the small medium enterprises.
Mrs. Nilofer, your company is part of the training that is being dispensed by Mr. K under the aegis of the NPCC. Tell us a bit more what your company does and why is it important for you to be here?
At AH Upholstery, we manufacture loose covers for cars. We undertake all kinds of upholstery works for home, hotels around Mauritius, automobile industry. We do the door trims, roof upholstery, dashboard upholstery, the loose covers and all. As you know, us managers, we have a set of needs. Our employees have their own set of needs. Sometimes those needs are very conflicting. So this core is a platform where we can get employees and managers to work together to reconcile those needs. And your meaning of quality will differ from my interpretation of quality. So it's very important that we move in the same direction.
And from what you've learned so far, what has been the biggest difference?
A huge difference. I mean, it has been very impactful in the sense that now it has become our objective to get all the employees on board, empower them and provide them with the training, giving them the opportunity to share their own ideas.
Of course, there are many changes to be implemented to a company, but one of the main challenges is the resistance to change from employees and sometimes from employers also. So how do you manage all of it?
I think the whole culture needs work. We have to promote a sharing culture at work. We are going to start by collaborating with the employees, find out what is it that's not working for them, understand. And I think to get people really on board is to trust them, to show that you trust them, and of course to walk your talk as managers.
And going forward, what is the long-term vision of your company?
To sustain the change. That's challenging. We have started, I think, 5S last year, but we stuck when it comes to maintaining the changes. Because with time, people become complacent, and that's the main issue. We get back to the old habits of doing things.
And this edition brings to the end Business Connect for this year 2019. We hoped you enjoy the show the whole year round, just as we enjoyed bringing you stories every week. Find this program on our website and also follow us on our Facebook page. We'll see you next year with more stories. Till then, it's goodbye from the whole team and have a very good festive season.